What skill that you don't have do you wish you could have?
Archery.
Sleeping whenever I wanted.
Juggling.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Archery. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have it?
How did you think of that?
So I used to be obsessed with like Green Arrow and then like Hunger Games. She was really good at archery, and that was like her skill.
Yeah.
And she was like really dope with it.
Yeah.
And so that was always like a fascinating type of like hunting skill that might be
Okay.
useful in like post apocalyptic world or something like that.
Nice.
Sure.
Sleeping whenever you want is not a skill.
That could be.
Or is it? Or
Yeah.
like nap on command.
That's what I'm saying. Because if I don't get sleep one night, and like if I'm really tired, I can knock out whenever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if I want to sleep, I can't be like, hey, sleep. So I mean, I don't really think that would be the one
Does
thing
it take
I
you
would choose.
long to sleep at night?
If I'm exhausted and it's like past a certain time at night, I can sleep.
Yeah.
But if my body and mind isn't ready to sleep, I will not be sleeping. And I can't like nap on demand or sleep on demand.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it wasn't like an official answer that I would like actually give. It's just
I think
within
that's
the
a dope
7 seconds.
answer.
Frost, do you
Not
want to
bad.
do juggling?
Yeah, I used to be able to juggle.
Okay.
That's a good one. But yeah, I feel like
It's not that great
Yeah,
of
it's
an
not that
answer.
great.
No, it's like
And you asked the
you all
question.
manage. I feel like it's one of those things that
you can't use.
it's just no, you can.
Well, you can.
You know, okay, so there's skills that are like, you know, party tricks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the skills I wish I had, because it's like I can't be like, yeah, man, I can make a music video. Like, okay, like you can't show somebody that, you know,
Yeah.
you can't impress somebody. It's not about impressing either. It's just like it's
Frost
cool.
wants to be
Oh
that
my
guy.
God.
Frost wants to be that
He
guy.
wants to be the party trick dude
So
at the parties.
He probably travels just to be like, tell everyone like, yeah, I've been to here, I've been here, I've been here, and so he's trying to get the party tricks
Wow.
so that he conquers that world.
Literally figured for us out. Boom.
He probably does like the spoon trick on top of the floating spoon trick on top of the glass.
Are we done?
If
or
you're
stuff
watching
like-
on
Are
YouTube,
we
you
done?
can see him face palming, but like,
Please
it's all
watch
good.
on YouTube just for this face. I waited so long for this.
I'm gonna learn how to juggle. Screw you guys. Guys, welcome to another episode of Strange Flavors. This is brought to you by Alif Theory. My name is FARAS.
My name is SHAH-AMEER.
My name is Amber.
We actually just did a poll that like a lot of you guys are watching on YouTube, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
Yo.
Please subscribe, because I know that we have a lot of subscribers
Yeah,
on
if you want to
Apple
listen in the
Podcasts.
car,
Send in a car?
listen in the car and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if they're watching on YouTube, then you're encouraging them to watch a video while they're driving, so
Yeah.
thanks for
So,
that.
okay, you know what? Just go on Apple thingy.
Podcast.
We have
So if
Stitcher
you-
too.
Podcast.
If you get into an accident while watching
I
the
do not
podcast on YouTube while
encourage-
driving, you can sue
But if you-
SHAH-AMEER.
no,
Please
if-
do not
if-
sue
If you
Strange
get
Flavors.
YouTube Red, you can play it audio.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Yeah, so
But then you have to pay
So
$10 a month.
now you're making them pay $10.
you get rid of the ads, so there's like a lot, and you get the TV shows too.
Honestly,
as well on
SHAH-AMEER
YouTube
just
Red.
wants you to waste your money.
And then you can watch my videos
Listen,
and
the
then
Get
point-
the
get some
30
ad
for that-
revenue.
Get the 30-day free trial. Watch 4 of our episodes on YouTube. Cancel your trial.
Yeah, there you go.
That's so extra. Just subscribe to us, guys. We only need a few more subscribers until we can have a link. Okay, the goal is the link. That's it. That's it. Because I know we have a lot of subscribers on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud, but our YouTube is slowly rising. So yeah, thank you everybody who's been supporting, and congrats
you.
to the people that won the sweatshirts. You look awesome in them. Thanks for sending in your pictures, and look out for more contests on the way. You can look out on our IG page, on our Twitter page, and our Facebook page. We're always going to keep those updated with whatever contests we're doing, whatever giveaways we're doing. So yeah, this week was kind of crazy and like very sad, in current events. I want to start by highlighting something that is just like kind of hits home, obviously, not kind of, but this thing about this girl named Zainab, who you guys may have heard of, is somebody who was a little girl who got kidnapped, and she was raped and murdered.
So sad.
Like she was found in dirt, and it has created a lot of like, anger and protests in Pakistan, because it's just like, it's unimaginable to any sort of family member just have something like that happen to her. And then after that, like recently this girl Kainat had something similar happen to her, and she actually survived.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she survived, and she was in the hospital, and they were like, you know, doing reporting from there, and it's insane that like these problems still exist in the world.
I think there's like a good level of like activism that's coming out from Pakistanis, because I don't feel like Pakistanis from Pakistan are that, you know, like driven from social justice issues as much. And I actually see a lot of big Pakistani social figures speaking about this, and that's so important, because the only way that you actually tackle a problem is start talking about it. So if there's one thing I can say about all this is we're doing one thing that's somewhere on track. I do wish that people wouldn't post the pictures of her in the actual garbage itself. It just seems a little disrespectful to her life.
It's nice to see like that there's a movement of men who are sticking up for women and their rights. It's one thing if women are doing it, but like it's not about you know, girls having to learn how to protect themselves, and you know, girls having to dress differently or take different routes. It's like we need to teach the men how to be respectful, you know, obviously take care of like the preciousness that makes up their home, you know. I hope that, you know, there's some sort of strength that her family finds and she gets her justice. But this is crazy, and it needs to be spoken out about. Another kind of crazy and bizarre thing that happened was this H&M thing.
Yeah.
So you want to go over like what
There was
kind of happened in
this
that?
African American kid, and he was wearing a hoodie that said "Coolest monkey in the jungle."
Yeah.
And everyone just went crazy. They thought,
Yeah.
what do you guys think? Like, do you think that was racist?
Well, so there was, I mean, to put it into context, this kid is a model for H&M.
Right.
Like, he's
and
done other things.
he's done other modeling things too.
But compared to this line of clothing, whatever, there was other kids that were like, you know, best hunter or something like that, like different things, most talented scavenger, and like something around that.
Something of the zoo, like zoo tamer, something like zoo leader. It was
Zoo leader, yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
And
I
there
think,
were white kids,
right? And I think that's where the problem.
But then the
came
black kid was coolest monkey in the jungle.
Right.
The Weeknd announced and G-Eazy announced who had lines with H&M, who had partnered. They said that they're dropping it, right?
Right.
And it created like a whole lot of backlash for H&M, and people were saying like how could you even put this out there? This is racism.
Right.
Yeah. And
I think by itself, like isolated, I would think that people are overreacting, because I work with kids, as you guys know, and I see kids wearing the most ridiculous written stuff, like, oh, I get all the hot chicks and have like baby chicks all over them. So like, where do you like really draw the line of what's inappropriate for a kid? However, when you add in the fact that those two kids that were white were wearing those things like that, I feel like it's kind of pushing the line a little bit. It could have been something that they just overlooked, but it was a very stupid thing to overlook.
I think it's like 50-50. Like, you know, why isn't he allowed to wear that? You know?
Right.
Like, the example is like Ahmed, the kid who brought in the clock like a couple years ago. Like, he's brown, right? And people assume that he was a terrorist because, you know, he brought in like a weird looking clock. Now, the other part of the argument's like, you're brown, why don't you don't bring in something that looks like that, right? But he shouldn't have to. Like, you should be, like, you know, people, it's racist because people think it's racist.
that's a good point, but
it is stupid on H&M's part.
Yeah.
Right.
They should assume that people will think like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So in these like really like sort of peaking racist times, I think for H&M, it's just smarter not to put it out there.
Yeah.
And if an African American kid wants to buy that sweatshirt and wear it, then that becomes on their part. It's like, then he can get questioned by whoever he wants. You know, why are you wearing that?
Yeah.
But I think it's very weird that the kid has been turned into a hero.
Right.
Like Diddy was saying that he's gonna give him his own line in Sean John. I'm like, but this kid and his mom, like, they were
went-
cool
they-
with,
yeah,
like,
they were okay
understood,
with it.
they didn't have a problem with it. I don't understand how the kid is the hero in that sense. You know,
Yeah.
like he didn't do any. Like he wasn't put on something that he.
Yeah, he didn't go home and get mad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I find it weird how he's like
Now made into a hero.
like people are
from,
sympathizing
probably
for him
from their
almost.
perspective. It's like, I want him to be represented better.
Right.
Like, I don't want him to be wearing that, so let's make him a new line.
Yeah. I just. Yeah, I guess I see both perspectives, but at the end of the day, you know what? Being a company as big as H&M, you just don't go there.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's just stupid on your part, especially in
Like,
the climate.
if he
that we
was
live-
wearing
political
all,
climate that we live in.
like, if that kid was wearing all the sweaters, that might have been much better. But the fact that he was only wearing that one,
Yeah.
it was weird.
You know, we don't know the facts, but we take sides super quickly,
Right.
and things get blown out of proportion. And also the fact that everybody feels like they have to take a side, like,
Right.
and say, you know, it's either this or this, and then things get way out of hand. But yeah, I think considering all those things, we need to focus the light on a much cooler story.
a nice story.
Nice story. So that's why we have somebody really special here today who is going to share what, like, the perspective of a convert to Islam.
Right.
She's from Las Vegas. She does martial arts. She's just a very cool person.
Videographer. She's just all around great.
Yeah,
Dope.
and she's a really unique perspective on life coming from where she comes from. So we're excited to talk to her and listen to what she has to say about her experiences. Everybody, please welcome Trish. You good? You good? You know, last time you hit the mic at least 20 times, so I edited all of that out, and that was really fun for me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. How do you guys know each other, by the way?
I met her actually before I converted, and it was at UB-MSA events. And that's basically what happened, yeah. I don't even remember when I specifically met you. I'm pretty sure someone was just like, hey, this is Amber. And then I was like, hey.
Came to a
Before
couple
you converted?
Oh,
You said before you converted?
Yes.
Okay, so you knew her before and after.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I only knew her after she was interested in Islam, though. And we
Yeah.
actually, I think, met
Wow,
at
Amber, that's
the HIJABI.
very open-minded of you.
What? What? No, because I think
So
met
if anybody
at
out there
the-
is listening and
Amber
wants to be
only.
friends with Amber, just make sure you're Muslim
Interested.
or interested.
the why to join an MSA video shoot.
No, I did meet you before that, but we
True.
didn't really talk. Like,
I
I know
came
I
to
saw you.
CCBC
You
event,
came to
too.
CCBC a couple times. I went to UB a couple times, but we
That's
didn't like
basically it.
talk.
Mainly
We were
through
just like,
Zainab. Mainly through Zainab.
yeah. And then we did that video,
Yeah.
and we were in a group chat, and I was like, oh no, she probably hates me.
So were you like learning then? Is that what
Yeah.
that phase?
So what happened was, initially, should I like go like from the beginning?
We can take it from
Yeah,
the
Okay,
beginning.
I
Yeah.
might as well. So I used to live in Las Vegas, and it's like 0.02% Muslim population there. So I didn't know any Muslims at all. But I didn't
And you
have,
were what then?
I didn't have a religion.
Okay.
So my parents were both raised Christian, but they didn't practice Christianity anymore.
So the concept of religion just wasn't.
Not really. Like, I was kind of taught that you shouldn't really be religious. You should just kind of think whatever you want, basically. But I always kind of felt like there should be, like, I always kind of felt like there was something that was the truth. And I did believe that there was a God. I just didn't have a set view on, like, what proved an existence of a God or anything like that. So I considered myself an agnostic theist. But, you know, I kind of thought I'd just stay like that. Like, I looked into Christianity a little bit because my grandparents were Christian. And I looked into Mormonism a little bit because there were a lot of Mormons in Las Vegas. But in the end, I was just like, yeah, there isn't really a set religion
When
for
you
me.
say like looking into it, like how old are you that you're considering different things and being open-minded to?
I mean, ever since I can remember, really, but primarily I was about 14. So I'm 22
Wow,
now.
that's
I'm turning
really-
23 this year. But I was like 14 when I started looking into different religions because there wasn't really like a set story about why my family didn't have a religion. And I was like, I know all these other people who have a religion, so like what is up with this whole religion thing? But in the end, I decided that I was an agnostic theist, so I believed in God but didn't really think there was any set proof of God.
And did you like celebrate Christmas and stuff growing up?
Yeah, my family celebrated Christmas and Easter and all that, but just because carrying on traditions that they had growing up.
Right.
And that was primarily it.
Where
in that
do you
regard.
live? Where do you live in Las Vegas? That there's just like, is it like a suburban area? Like what?
So
what is
okay,
it?
so it's not like I thought when I was like a little kid, but I thought okay, it's like the strip, and then at the end of the strip there were houses. That was what I thought it was, but it's not. It's like you got the strip, and then there's a bunch of desert, and there's a bunch of really like dystopian future looking perfect landscape areas with houses, and it's really hot. So you live over there, and it's got like normal grocery stores and stuff. It looks like California, but it's way hotter and drier and more unpleasant.
So like giant houses in the middle of the desert.
Basically, they're neighborhoods.
And
Like
that's
there's
what
not
you
just
live
like
in?
I did at first, and then I actually moved to Mount Charleston, which is 45 minutes from Las Vegas, but it's still in Nevada.
Okay.
So yeah.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there until 2010 when I moved back here. So I moved back here, and I didn't really think much about religion again until I started going to college. I wound up meeting some people who are Muslim, and I was kind of like, I didn't really know this religion was a thing because I didn't know any Muslims before this. So I started like,
When you were exploring, like at 14, that wasn't one of the things.
No, like I
Okay.
really didn't know anything about Islam. I didn't know anything about Muslims at all. Like I just was
had
not
you heard,
exposed
or, like,
to it.
Were you, like, obviously there's like things that you hear on the news and stuff. Was there anything that you were just like, oh, this is a religion to like just
Not
for
really.
me?
Like somehow I kind of missed that. So I wound up, when I started learning about Islam, it was like half of it was bad things and half of it was good things that the media was saying. Because before then, it wasn't really something I knew much about. Like I knew it was a religion, and that was it. I didn't know anything about it at all.
Okay.
So when I started doing research, it was like completely from scratch.
And
Which-
this was at what age that you started looking into Islam?
18, it was just out of curiosity because I always liked learning about different people's belief systems. So if I met anybody who had a different belief system, I'd want to learn about it just for fun, because I loved philosophy and discussing different questions and things like that. So I met Muslims in college, and so I started kind of like learning about Islam. Like I'd ask them questions, or I'd be like, let me Google this one thing that they mentioned, and I'd kind of learn about it from there. And the more I learned, the more I realized, wow, I agree with this. Wow, I agree with this too, because I kind of had my own like set of beliefs that I just personally had already, and it wasn't like this dramatic transformation. It was like, wow, this fits what I already believed. This is wild. Like I thought I was just weird, right?
So
I didn't know.
so you believed things like that matched up with the religion, like having one God and that type of stuff?
Yeah,
you're saying?
but down to even subtle things, down to like how human interaction should be, or like
Okay.
the logic behind not drinking, like things like that. People would just be like, man, you're weird, and then it turned out it wasn't just my opinion. Like there was a whole religion that already had all these logical reasons for something that I personally already adhered to.
Got
So I
it.
thought that was cool.
So then you're going to college, and then you start going to these Muslim Student Association meetings, and then you start meeting more Muslims there. Is that what sort of happened?
Sort of, not exactly. What it started out with was I would just talk to Muslims that I met just in college in general before I did anything MSA related. And as I got more curious due to conversations and stuff, I was like, hey, can you guys like send me videos and invite me to events and that kind of thing? How I wound up in MSA was I'm also a videographer. So I got asked to film a hijab challenge, which is everybody wears hijab for a week. Like anybody who's non-Muslim, right? They'd come and share their experience. So I was supposed to film people who would, before they actually put it on, like say their opinion, and then I'd film it again afterwards. Like, they'd summarize their experience.
Was it getting reactions?
Yeah. So it was just like, they'd say, I don't really know what to expect. And at the end, they were like, this is my experience. So last minute, I decided to jump in. So I joined in the hijab challenge myself, and I thought it was really great. And then at the end, the MSA people were just like, do you want to like not leave? Because by that point, I filmed stuff for them. I made them a new logo. I made them flyers. They were like, you want to not leave? And I'm like, heck yeah. So I wound up joining my college's MSA as a non-Muslim secretary for the
Wow.
club. And then from there, I became more involved in the community,
They were
going to
probably
different
super
events.
excited for that.
Of course they were, yeah.
Like having a non-Muslim on board, they're probably like, oh yeah, like we're diverse.
Yeah, I think so. There's this one really awkward moment, which is that the club's advisor comes in and reads these ancient like rules for the club, right? And one of the rules was, you know, you have to be Muslim to have a position, and everybody just kind of really awkwardly looks around and they're like, yeah, we're deleting
Wait,
that.
that's a terrible rule.
That is a terrible rule.
None of us made it up. Like, it was some
In the
MSA that
bylaws?
was like ancient before our MSA like
Right.
had even been a thing.
Because yes, even for our MSA, we have the same, but we have like similar bylaws because I think everybody kind of got them from like UMBC basically. I think CCBC and UB is kind of based off that. But I guess if you just don't update, it's the same way.
Yeah, nobody had even looked at those until the advisor came in and read them over, and we were like, oh, that was kind of funny.
That's interesting.
That's
So then-
awesome they invited you in, though.
Yeah. What happened from there? Were people aware that you were kind of like exploring, or did they ever ask you your thoughts or anything?
Oh yeah, all the time. But people like, you know, they already knew me at that point, so they kind of heard my views on it. And as I started going to more events, meanwhile, simultaneously, I was, you know, learning different things about Islam, asking questions, and I was reading the Quran in English. And so during the time, people knew like I was interested, but I didn't really think that I would actually convert. I thought it was just like, you know,
An exploration.
yeah, like I thought it was just interesting because, again, I love different belief systems and, you know, deep conversations, that kind of thing. But as I started learning more, I was like, this really feels like it's true for me. Maybe in like 10 years I'll convert. So some of my friends from MSA would just be like, why in 10 years though?
So from the time that you started learning to the time you actually converted, how long was that period?
2 years.
And what actually like triggered that to you, for you to convert?
Like when I actually took the Shahada.
Yeah.
So there kind of came a point where I had this one conversation with a Muslim about Islam, and I corrected them on something. And like they were saying something that was not correct. So I was like, whoa, that's like
Do you
super
remember what
wrong.
it was?
Yeah, I do. I just don't want to say it because then the
Yeah,
person might
yeah.
be like, hey, I didn't know that was the moment. And then I'd have to deal with that awkwardness. But yeah, so they said something that was incorrect and I corrected them. And then I was kind of like, you know, I guess this feels really true for me. And again, it already agreed, like Islam already fit what my beliefs were, and anything that was new, I'd be like, wow, that makes sense. Like if I learned something about, you know, how Islam views relationships or the afterlife or things like that, I'd be like, this makes total logical sense.
Okay.
And if there were any tough questions, if I researched, you know, I'd learn what the actual answer was and it would make logical sense as well. So anyway, there came a point where I was just kind of like, I need to finish reading the Quran before I could actually convert, because what if, like in the back of my mind, it's just like, what if there's some kind of weird thing like right near the end? So the turning point moment for me was, because at this point I was like, you know, maybe in 10 years, right? But I finished reading the Quran one night at like 5 a.m. And when I finished it, I just felt like so light and happy that I completed this, and the whole thing, like even then I couldn't truly like understand the context of everything.
Right.
Like I was learning the backstory as well, but not as much as I know now. But anyway, even then I was just like, wow, like this is really great. And at that point I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to convert.
What is your ethnic origin, by the way?
So I'm half white and half Cuban. So you probably won't meet anyone else who's half white and half Cuban
Interesting.
around here. I think I met one other person.
What's the breakdown of the white?
It's like German, Irish, English. So a bunch of white stuff. But my mom grew up in Arbutus. So
Are you living with your parents right now?
I'm living with my grandfather, but it's
Okay.
like 2 minutes from where my parents live.
Okay, so did they know like all this was going on while you were?
No, that's
Yes.
like the epic plot twist of this story, which
Oh,
is
wow.
that I just straight up did not tell my family anything about this whatsoever. They had no idea what I was doing at all.
Even after you converted?
Okay, so this is what happened, right? By the time, this had been like 2 years, it was more casually at first. The second year was when I like more intensely, because at first it was just like curiosity. The second year it was like, I want to learn a lot about this religion. During those 2 years, I didn't say anything to my parents whatsoever. And partially it's just because, you know, like it's just some random stuff. I didn't think I was actually going to convert. It didn't seem like a big deal. And it just kind of escalated to the point where if I wanted to tell them before I converted, there'd be so much to catch up on. So my logic at the time was, that's like a lot of backstory. I don't want to like freak them out and then have that affect my decision, because I want to be able to make the decision from a completely neutral standpoint, right? So I thought, I'll just convert and I'll tell them later, which was a terrible idea. Although I think, like, looking back, as much drama happened because of it, it did at least allow me to make a decision that was purely my own, where I wasn't worried about what other people were going to think. But like, if I went back and did it again, I wouldn't not
so tell us
them.
about what was your parents' reaction?
How did they find out?
So what happened was, so first of all, it was 2 years of research, but I'm about to have been Muslim for 2 years. And they found out 6 months after I converted. I was going to tell them at the end of the year. So that was my plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to convert now. And then I was going to tell them a couple months in, but some drama stuff was happening in my extended family. So I was like, okay, I don't want to like put another burden on them, so I'll just wait till the end of the year. But they found out because my uncle, who is really nosy, found a... Okay, so this is like a stupid story. This guy was like trying to ask me out, and I didn't feel like saying no, so I changed my relationship status on Facebook to in a relationship. So my friends, who obviously knew I wasn't actually in a relationship, like commented jokey things like, oh, you better get married soon, like, right? Like, as a joke. So
like
my uncle...
Muslim friends?
Yeah, but like non-Muslim friends too, but Muslim friends obviously.
I remember you doing this on Facebook too.
So anyway, so one of my friends commented something, and they have a Muslim name. So my nosy uncle clicks on that person, and it just so happens that their header photo has me in it, wearing hijab. Oh. So my uncle does some research, it's kind of a long story, and basically finds out that I converted. So he tells my dad in the worst possible way, which is basically, do you know that your daughter is the like prime age for these young white girls who like convert and join ISIS and that kind of thing? And I'm like, oh my God. So he told my dad. My dad, of course, freaks out. Is my parents had no idea up until this point. Like, I fasted Ramadan and they still didn't know.
Wait, were you not wearing hijab in the house at all or anything?
No, I'd take it off before I entered the house, obviously.
Yeah, so you were wearing hijab.
So you wore it
outside.
otherwise?
Yeah, I did. Like,
Okay.
mostly, unless I was around my parents.
Okay, so real quick, why did you choose to wear hijab? And was it since the beginning that you converted?
It wasn't since the beginning. At first, I felt kind of like if I started wearing it, because I didn't know better at the time. So I was like, if I start wearing it now, I feel like I'm gonna like kind of, what do you call it? Like degrade, I guess, the struggles of people who were born Muslim and they like chose to wear hijab or, whatever. And then me, this random convert girl, shows up and then instantly starts wearing it. So I kind of like felt bad at first. So I didn't wear it all the time. But then I learned that it doesn't actually matter when you start wearing hijab. Nobody would have thought anything like that at all. Like it's all about each person's individual journey. So I basically asked like a public Facebook question and was like, what do you guys think? And everybody was like, heck yeah, you can start wearing it. What are you talking about? So I kind of like shook it off a little bit and was like, all right, yeah. So then I started wearing it to just college. Except for on Tuesdays, which is because I had a club meeting on Tuesdays I was in a film society, and my parents would see pictures from there. So I didn't wear it there yet. And then I started wearing it there, and then I started wearing it outside.
Did people ask
college.
you like, why are you wearing it sometimes and sometimes not?
Not really. Like, nobody really cared. People would just be like, hey, it's your hair. Because I still get that. People are like, I miss your hair. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, you can't see it, though.
Is that what inspired the your blog name? And you can start by telling us your blog name.
Oh, yeah, I have a blog. I actually changed the name. Now it's Confessions of a Convert Hijabi. It used to be Confessions of a Part-Time Hijabi, but I changed the name recently because, it was kind of like a funny name, but like hijab is not only just wearing the headscarf. So I changed the name because I thought it would be more representative of what the blog is, which is basically just I write articles sharing my opinions from a convert's perspective. And that's about it there, which check out my blog. I don't have that many people who read it, but I write anyway. And like I share the articles with my friends and that's about it for now.
Part-time hijabi sounds so funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So was that literally just from your day-to-day life of, okay, well, I'm going to put it on today. Well, I'm not going to put it on
resume.
today. So you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to talk about my part-time hijabi life.
Yep.
What are some issues that you had starting to wear hijab? Like, did it mess up your hair? Like, did you have to tie your hair in a certain way? Like
Okay,
those little.
that's actually super true. So the first, like, let's go back to me doing the hijab challenge 2 years ago, or wait, that was not even 2 years ago. That's like over 3 years ago. What the heck? Anyway, I think. Anyway, whatever it was. So I thought I was super smart. I was like, man, these Muslim girls doing buns and stuff. I'm going to wear a hairnet underneath. This has got to be easier.
Hairnet?
So I put on a freaking hairnet, which was not smart at all.
Like for cooks and stuff?
Like a wig hairnet.
Oh, okay.
So I put on one of those. And I got an infinity scarf because then I was like, then I don't need to wear pins, which was a terrible idea too. That did not work at all. Luckily, I did manage to make it work. Then later, what I did is like when I actually converted, I played around with a bunch of different styles. First, I'd pin it where like the ends would both hang down, so then my hair kept sticking out. So then I was like, okay, I'll wear a headband underneath. So I wore it like with a headband for a while, but then it would make my hair get like super flat. So I'd go in and like I'd go into my family's house and my hair's all like weirdly flat, like so it looked weird. And now what I do is I just like I have a bun and I have I'm not wearing a underscarf or a headband or anything, and I just wear it in a style where it doesn't stick out. So I got better at that. It's way easier to put on hijab than I thought when I did the hijab challenge and tried to use a hairnet. Like, it's really not that big a deal to put it on.
Yeah.
Did you did you have to like YouTube a bunch of tutorials and stuff? Because I know that's like usually like a stage that some converts go through.
I didn't really. I just I remember I saw one tutorial that was like a picture by picture thing that was on Instagram or something. So I used that one for a while, but since then I just look at somebody else wearing it and then like practice it and figure it out on my own. Which I feel bad because my friends will be like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you learn that?" And I'll be like, "I made it up." And then they think I'm being arrogant, but I'm not. That's just what I do.
So continuing on with the parent situation, what happened?
So immediately after my dad found out, he was obviously not happy. So he then proceeded to tell my whole family before I could tell them. And I was at work. Luckily, my mom tells me, like, she comes to my work and she's like, "Hey, just letting you know, we just found out that you converted to Islam. What is this? Your dad's going to talk to you about this when you get home." So I'm like, oh, crap. So I was so freaked out because I actually wrote, like, a whole thing that I was going to read to my parents when I told them. Like, I had the whole thing all planned out. Instead, this was at a terrible time. Not only that, but my grandfather had recently died too. So it was already not a good time for my family. Mm-hmm. And then this happened. And it was my dad's birthday too. Like, there could not have been a worse time.
Happy birthday.
It was so bad. Oh my gosh. And so then I like made myself cry to get off work. And then I walk home, and on the way there...
You purposely cried at work?
Yeah, I did.
Were you like, "I'm so scared," or like...
No, I just started crying, and I just said it was an emergency, and they had to let me off, and they did. So that was thankful. So I got a couple more hours than expected, because if not, I would have gotten off and then walked home, and my dad would have been home already.
That's how I got out of school all the time.
Just start crying?
Yeah, it's facts.
I've gotten good grades from crying, which I still feel kind of guilty about. There's this one grammar class that I should not have gotten a good grade in that grammar class, but I didn't submit. Oh my God, I'm such a terrible person.
Wow.
You cried, then sympathy.
And then I got an A.
Yeah. What is this? An A.
I've only done that with the parking ticket, but it works
Parking
nonetheless.
ticket.
Sometimes you gotta like time it really well, right? You can't cry a lot regularly, and you time it really well.
And then waterworks.
Yeah, exactly.
Is your family like or even I don't know now, but at the time like kind of I don't want to say like racist, but like ignorant to at least like these types of beliefs? Like you mentioned your uncle like clicked on the Muslim person's name and like was there any like fear there?
I don't really know about my uncle. I'm still mad at him. Like, I haven't actually talked to him about it. We've seen each other a couple times since, but we haven't actually talked about me converting, and he just acts like we're like, buddy. And I really just want to be like, "Hey, dude, thanks for being a jerk a couple years ago." Yeah. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to talk to him. I don't know. But as far as my family's opinion, they were more just against religion in general.
I see.
Okay.
And so...
it's not like a political thing, like...
Yeah, it was
being conservative or something.
Yeah, it was more just that they're just not fans of the idea of organized religion.
Did the ISIS comment scare your dad, or was like he like, "Oh, okay, my brother is just saying this," but like, because did your family have like any type of like idea that it was coming up? Like, were you talking about Islam in the house at all or anything? There's no indication.
I feel like I mentioned Islam like once, that because again I like. I like didn't plan for it. I didn't know that I was going to wind up converting. Like, I'm pretty sure I was just like, oh yeah, I made a movie and like, it was about this because some Muslim people. I think that's the most I ever mentioned Islam ever. And, the main thing though was they were more hurt that I didn't tell them. So because of that, then they brought up other things that were more political just to kind of like get back at me for not telling them. And that's the main thing because, like I kind of mistakenly thought that they always taught me to make my own choices. So for me, I kind of mistakenly thought that, okay, if I want to go into this, making it completely my own choice without feeling like, I would be pressured this way or that, because I know that they weren't fans of religion in general, that it would be like understandable. But they didn't take it like that at all. They took it like I was like keeping this big secret from them, which I guess technically I was. I just didn't feel like it at the time. So looking back, I wouldn't redo it. But I did learn good things from the experience, and I am glad that I was able to make the choice on my own.
So how are they now?
A little bit better, but it's still not like we don't talk openly about me being Muslim, basically.
Do you wear the hijab like when you go out with family events and stuff, or do you just? I
just kind of like don't. I'll wear like a hoodie. Because I don't want to make them any more uncomfortable. Like I don't want to make them uncomfortable, especially because they're like extended family members who might not know and things like that. So I don't want to like make them uncomfortable. But it's not openly talked about. But it's also not like brought up and me getting like criticized for it anymore. So hopefully they understand like that I didn't intend to be hurtful at all. I just miscalculated what the best move was. But we don't like openly talk about Islam. But I'm kind of like slowly starting to bring it up. So like let's say I'm having a conversation with my mom in the car and she brings up some cool video she watched about like the creation of the universe. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool because in Islam we believe this, which is the exact same thing. Like, that kind of thing. Right. And so I'm kind of slowly trying to do that.
And I know Lola is young, your little sister, but does she have an opinion on everything that happened?
See, I don't know about because I have like two younger sisters. One of them is 9 and one of them is like a little kid. She doesn't count. The 9-year-old, I haven't like openly talked to her about it. She just kind of knows, and she knows that I wear hijab. And that's just kind of it. So like when she's older, I'll have more conversations with her, but I don't want my parents to think that I'm like trying to convert my siblings. Right. They'd be like, now what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
With my brothers are just kind of chill about it. Like my brothers are all teenagers. So they don't really care. Like none of them are really into the concept of religion, but they also like are not judgmental of me or anything like that. Like they really don't care what I do in my spare time as long as I come and like play video games with them sometimes.
What's like some cases of, or have you faced like Islamophobia since then?
I mean, like, yes, but nothing super bad.
That's good.
Like, which awesome. Is good. I think that the main thing for me is I just kind of present myself as a likable person. And then if it gets to a point where we're talking about Islam, then they're more receptive to it. So if I, like, normally, for example, in Film Society, which I was president of up until recently, there was this one kid who, he came from a conservative family and, like, had posted some anti-Islam stuff. So I knew this because I saw him posting it on Facebook and he was still coming to club, right? So I just kind of like made sure I was friendly with him and stuff like that. And then eventually the topic of religion got brought up and he was perfectly happy to hear my opinions. And, at that point he's just like, wow, I didn't know that. Like, that's really cool. But as far as like random instances, the most I've gotten is one time I was walking and then somebody like opens up their window and yells Allahu Akbar at me. Damn. I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I didn't think that actually happened, but okay. And then besides that, I've had like random dirty looks from people. Like I went to, my friend used to work at Cracker Barrel. And like Cracker Barrel is like stereotypically where all like the racist old white people are. So I got, a couple of looks from Islamophobes in there, but they don't normally like say anything, which is nice. Like I think that's really good. I think a lot of it is if you you can't like prevent everything. Yeah. But if you act like a likable person, somebody who might otherwise be rude to you might be more receptive to be awesome. Like, so it can't cure everything, but.
And then on the opposite side, have you dealt with racism from Muslims?
From Muslims, I've only gotten like there are some things that they do. It's more like
do you feel excluded being white from certain things that they do?
So I definitely don't feel excluded at all.
Okay.
Early on, I did have more people doing things like they'd criticize me for, not like in a mean way, but they'd criticize me in like what clothes I was wearing or like, you know, how I was praying or things like that as I was learning. And I know they were trying to help, but it does more harm than good if you're trying to like tell your recent convert friend, you know, like, hey, your pants are too tight or something like that.
Okay.
Like that's not cool.
Yeah.
And it's not Islamic either. Like that's not the right way to handle things, but a lot of people just don't know how to do that. I think, you know, then there were also a couple of things like you'll get somebody's mom will just be like, you know, oh, we have to set her up with someone else who is also a convert. Like, okay, wait, am I not a regular Muslim? I'm like a convert Muslim. I can't like marry whoever I want. What are you talking about?
Does that have to do with like, is she gonna like remain Muslim, or is she gonna change another religion or something?
I've never gotten that at all.
Okay.
I think people just kind of like, at worst, they kind of view converts as like another type of Muslim. But again, with self-presentation, you just kind of get through that. And I've learned that the less you care, then the more things are fine. Like I used to worry if I went to the masjid, you know, oh, are people going to judge me? Like, you know, I said hi to a guy. Are people going to freak out? Or, you know, like, did I not wear the right clothes or anything like that? And as you get more used to it, you realize is that Islam is not a judgmental religion. Humans are judgmental, and all humans are, no matter where you are. And so, you know, if you don't really care what people say, and the more knowledge that you learn, so that if somebody does say something, you have something proper to say back, then the more comfortable you become.
Yeah.
I would say, though, the most annoying thing is I get people, even other converts would do this. They'd be like, oh, you're a convert, so how are you handling all this spicy desi food? And I'm like, this is your question of all the things you're going to ask me?
You're Muslim now, you have to eat this food. That's so funny.
Oh, they'd just be like, you know, oh, so, you know, like, now that you're trying this, I'm like, no, I knew what desi food was before I converted.
Right.
Like,
I had a question about your occupation. So you're a filmmaker?
Yes.
So like, I guess, were you a filmmaker before you converted?
Yeah, I was.
So did your content change at all before you were Muslim and after you're Muslim?
I've never thought about that before, but technically yes, because I started becoming I already did videography and I made like random movies. And like I said, I was in Film Society, which I had been since before I converted. But I started doing like actual gigs where I do trailers for different Islamic events or, you know, weddings and things like that. And those were mostly Muslim clients. So that kind of stuff I didn't really do before then. And now like my demographic is doing those kind of things for Muslims and Muslim organizations and things like that, which is pretty cool. So I'd say in that regard, the content did change. But at the end of the day, like I'm an editor / videographer as my main thing. I also do graphic design for like flyers and logos and stuff like that. So nowadays I do a lot of things that are like, you know, here's a promo video for this Muslim organization. Here's I'll do like random videos for different charity organizations and events and of course weddings and things like that.
What are your thoughts on the mixture of culture and religion? As in like, you know, a lot of people, non-Muslims confuse the two. And then also just being in the religion, like, do you feel, that you've explored a lot of different cultures? Are there things about certain cultures you like that you dislike?
I think that's a good question. Well, Islamically, you're allowed to have culture. You're not supposed to reject culture for Islam. You're just supposed to reject things that are in opposition to what Islam stands for. So if a part of your culture is something that doesn't fit in with Islam, then you'd be like, okay, that's like, it would be something that was bad, right? Let me think of an example. Like anything that would technically be like racism or anything, obviously that's not supposed to be in Islam. We're all equal under God. And then something like, if it's like anything that would be considered worship of other than God, then obviously that wouldn't fit in.
Okay.
And then something like, let's say there's like a marriage practice that is un-Islamic, but it's cultural. So then in that regard, you'd let that go and you'd go with the Muslim way of marriage and things like that. How to interact with others, raising your kids, anything like that. But you're allowed to have culture. So I think it's fine to have both. You just can't mix them up. And a lot of them, what I've seen is they're more like cultural myths. Like, I've learned there are people who they believed this one thing and they thought that it was Islamic, but it was actually just a cultural myth. And then they learned one day, they were like, what the heck? Like, my parents have told me this since I was a little kid.
Okay.
Turned out it wasn't even part of my religion. So I think that's important, but, you know, everybody should celebrate what culture they're from if they have a culture to celebrate. And that can be separate from Islam. And, you know, like, if you're Muslim, it shouldn't be your only identity. Like, your identity is who you are as a person, and being Muslim is a part of that. And it should fit in with your lifestyle and who you are and, you know, what you want to do in life. And it should fit your character. And as far as that is concerned, of course, you're allowed to, like, celebrate your heritage and everything.
Yeah, I think that also, like, I guess when I was thinking of that question was just like how in Saudi Arabia it's like, you know, women have to be in full burqa like when they're outside and, you know, not being able to drive and stuff. And then also again with like the weddings thing, like I guess Islamically the only day in like South Asian weddings, for example, that matters is like the first day where, like, you know, you do it inside the mosque in front of the imam. And then the rest of it is literally just like,
Or like extra stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we like our weddings are like a week long.
Yeah, I know. I
But-
filmed them.
There you go. So you know, but like, I think for some Americans it's confusing because they're like, wait, so like, are you guys Bollywood, like belly dancing, half shirt, or are you like this?
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Saudi Arabia, like full on dressed ninjas, like.
I guess in that point you just kind of need to like talk about it. For me, I think more things that are confusing for people is if it's like government related. So if somebody might just be like, you know, in Islam where you're not allowed to drive, and it's like, no, that's never been a thing. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know, and those kind of things. Or, you know, Islam is bad because this one country with this one government does this one thing. And it's like, well, no, like, just because those people consider themselves Muslim does not mean that what they're doing is actually Islamic. I think things as far as like weddings, that can just be pretty easily cleared up. But it's also not un-Islamic to have big weddings. It's only un-Islamic to have ridiculously expensive weddings. Like, I mean, it's not even technically un-Islamic. It's just like considered better to have weddings with lesser expenses. So you would have like your nikah and your walima, and that's all that's sunnah to have. And then if you want to have more celebrations, that's fine. It isn't un-Islamic to do it.
It's just un-Islamic to be wasteful.
Yeah, like you don't want to like, you know, spend thousands
Go into
and thousands
debt.
of dollars and go, yeah. Plus there's
Which
like
some
a higher,
people do. Which some
there's a
people
higher
do.
divorce
do.
rate if you do that anyway. Like marriages that people spend more money on, it's more likely for the couple to get divorced. I forget the actual statistics, but like the
Interesting.
more money spent on weddings, the more likely it is for the couple to get divorced. And I was like,
$0.
$0.
Oh my, it's like, no.
So
This guy.
it seems like everything you do like really well at it.
Oh, thank you.
And I know that you went to like Dublin, Ireland this year
Yeah, I
to
did.
compete in martial arts. Can you talk about that a little bit?
You do martial
Yeah,
arts?
sure. Yeah, I do. So I'm a 3rd degree black belt in ITF Taekwondo.
Don't mess with her.
Yeah, definitely not. Although you can mess with me if you want to like film it.
This is a case where the Muslim girl is actually a ninja.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could start wearing niqab, and if somebody asks if I'm a ninja, I can be like, oh, yes, sort of.
Yes, that's my
Yeah.
occupation.
Tell us about it.
So I've been practicing for 12 years, 11 years, either 11 or 12 years, I forget, something like that. And so I've been to world championships a couple of times. I didn't win gold this time, but inshallah.
World championships?
Yeah, world championships.
Yeah.
Calm
So
down.
imagine
Oh
the
my
Olympics,
God.
but just Taekwondo. So what it is this is
Wow.
like it's not the foot fighting thing that you see in the actual Olympics. That's a different style. It doesn't count. This is ITF Taekwondo. This is like a military martial art. That's an intense self-defense
Military.
art. It's both hand and foot. It's not just like kicks. It's
All right, so
overall
your uncle was onto something slightly.
maybe. Yeah, so I went to world championships. They were in Ireland, so I had to qualify. They changed it. It used to be you'd qualify at nationals and then you'd go to worlds, but then now they changed it that you have to qualify at qualifiers to go to nationals to go to worlds. So I had to do that. So I'm a gold medalist at a national level at
That's
least.
crazy.
That's amazing.
As a taekwondo person,
martial artist. right?
Martial artist.
There you go. Do you only use it for self-defense, right? But do you ever like walk into the street and be like, yo, if I get robbed, I'll pull these moves or something?
Oh
like that?
yeah, all the time. Like literally, okay.
That's awesome.
I'll walk into a restaurant and I'll sit myself so that I can see the door,
She
so I
thinks
know
the
if
waiter's
somebody's
gonna-
like gonna attack me. Okay, I suck because one time I was at a store. I'll never forget this my whole life. It was a couple years ago, and I was at a store and I was in line buying something, and the guy in front of me started moving his fist like he was gonna hit me. So I didn't even do anything. I instinctively my leg chambered like I was gonna kick. And the guy was just itching his face or something and was just moving his arm
my
weirdly.
God.
I just like slowly put my leg down. I was like, hopefully no one noticed. Yeah, that just happened by itself. If anybody jumps out and tries to scare me, my hands automatically go up.
Dang.
That's awesome.
Wait, are you excited about this the Nike like hijab?
The Nike
thing?
hijab?
Yeah.
I would like to try it, but there are also like different independent
Oh
like,
yeah, there's that
designers.
whole debate where it's
Yeah,
like, why
so-
is Nike?
Yeah, that's
doing
true.
this?
I mean, I think it's good that Nike did that because it kind of normalizes it. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I haven't really told anybody that, so you guys can like hear it first. But I want to make this video
exclusive, Strange Flavors
Yeah.
exclusive.
There we go.
Snap.
I want to make this video that would be, I'll pick some random background nasheed that's cool, and then I'll get different Muslim women doing things that they're passionate about and put it into a video. Because there's been, like, that's been done before, but it's normally just like, you don't really see them doing anything. Like, it'll just be like a random shot of a hijabi wearing her hijab like this, and then a non-hijabi over here, and then, you know, a niqabi over here, and things like that. But you never really get something that actually showcases like what Muslims do, especially women, because there's like negative stereotypes. So I think kind of like normalizing the fact that they're people just like everyone else. Just because they do some things differently doesn't mean they're not people. So I want to do like a video where I just get a bunch of different Muslim women, and each one is highlighting something that they're passionate about. And it could be anything. It doesn't need to just be like, you know, the cool hijabi on a skateboard. It can be like, here's somebody who likes drawing. Here's somebody who's passionate about memorizing Quran, you know. Here's somebody who's a martial artist. Here's somebody who plays sports. And it would just be a different compilation of...
Are they all gonna have hijab?
Not all of them. It would
Okay.
just be like Muslim women in general. So there'd be
Okay.
some hijabis, some non-hijabis, you know, people... I want to try and make it as diverse as possible.
Got it.
And it would just kind of be something to showcase that, you know, like the stereotypes are not true.
Yeah. We gotta wrap up soon, but I want to ask you something. As a convert, and especially being white, like, do you feel that people look to you, or do you feel yourself that you have some sort of like responsibility to either, you know, stand up for something or make an impact because of your role now in your religion?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I think that as a convert, you are kind of expected to have all the answers because you have a lot of them, because you obviously did research before you converted. At least I did. Some
Converts
people-
are high key the smartest, right?
Most
they know
definitely.
so much more than us.
That's because they
Yeah.
look
They-
up all
yeah, they
the,
look up
the
everything.
tough questions. Like, I
Right.
mean, like not always. Sometimes maybe somebody originally converts because they wanted to marry someone or whatever.
Yeah.
So then they
Yeah,
get
yeah,
married,
yeah.
and then they start learning about Islam after that, and then they learn more. You know, it depends on the situation. But, you know, a lot of times somebody's like, oh, you're a convert, and you're kind of expected to like answer the tough questions.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
especially amongst non-Muslims. Like, I do dawah tables at my, or I used to. I guess I'm not going to do it anymore. That's kind of weird. I'll volunteer and come back.
Which, can
probably.
you explain what that is?
So that would be, you would be spreading information about Islam, but not like in a pushy way. So what we do is we have like a trivia game, and then if you play the trivia game at all, then you get like cookies or something like that, and then people just kind of start asking you questions on their own. So, you know, they might be inspired by the trivia or something like that. And so that kind of thing, they'd be like, oh, you're a convert. How did you convert knowing that this is a thing? And then you have to try and answer it. And that's not just at tables like that, but just in day-to-day life. Somebody might find out you're a convert. They immediately start asking you the super tough questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
right? So as a convert, you have to know those because people are going to ask them to you. And if you say, I don't know, they're just like, oh, she was brainwashed, right? So you have to really nail it. And then when interacting with Muslims, it's also really important too, because somebody might try and tell you something, and at least this isn't so much anymore, but like more like when I first converted and didn't know as much. They might try and tell you something, and you don't know whether it's true or not. Like maybe it's a cultural myth, right? And if you don't have that knowledge, then you won't know what's true or not.
Oh, like the snake aunties.
Yeah, like
Snake aunties try to feed you all this wrong
Yes.
information, And you gotta look out for that. But they'll be asking you such hard questions. I'm like, dang, I don't even know that. Like, do you know that?
Really quickly, you did mention that you want to be a scholar one day.
Yeah, I would like to. Inshallah, I'm gonna try and become an alima one day. I just applied to an online program. Like I can't at this point in life like move to somewhere where I'd go and study to become an Islamic scholar, but there's an online program that's supposed to be really good. So if I get accepted into it, then I could do that. But if not, it would be something I'd like to do in the future, just because I want to like take it to that next level. For me, I feel like when you commit to anything in life, you should try and be as knowledgeable about it as possible. Just to me, that's like the way that I view life is that you respect life by putting in that effort into whatever you're a part of. So for me, this is just the next level of already doing that.
Dang.
Wow.
Y'all make us look good, man.
It's the converts who
That's
know
awesome.
so much more.
Thank you.
And okay, so real quick, where can people find you? What are you up to nowadays? Any last message you want to leave for them?
Well, definitely read my blog, because it would be super cool if my blog actually became a thing. So it's HIJABIWeb.wordpress.com, because I haven't bought a real URL.
Find it in the bio.
It's also Facebook.com/HijabiWeb, I believe. If not, you can just look up Confessions of a Convert Hijabi on Facebook and it'll come up. And I just write random thoughts. Like sometimes it'll be, here's a story about this thing that happened when I first converted. Sometimes it'll be like my opinion on something, or a review of a class that I attended about Islam, or, you know, like a rant about
And you post your videos
something.
on there too?
Not yet.
Okay, but you will?
When I make that one video
Awesome.
with the different Muslim women, then I'll probably post that there.
Go follow her blog. It's linked in the description. Look out for that video. All right. Shimmer?
If you could describe yourself in any flavor, what flavor would it be and why?
Like of ice cream?
Of anything.
Anything, any flavor.
Especially desi food. No, I'm just kidding.
Side note, I can handle spicy food. I'll have you to
Bam!
know.
Bam.
Wow.
Shots at you. Just so you know.
Flavor.
That describes
haters.
kind of like who you are.
I'm milk chocolate, but I look like dark chocolate. That's what it is.
You better explain
No,
that,
like-
sister.
like-
You better explain.
Oh gosh, no, I don't want to screw up. Okay, like imagine like a chocolate truffle. And it's the kind of truffle that it's like in a container and you're like expecting like bitter dark chocolate or something, but it turns out it's like sweet milk chocolate. Does that make
Ooh,
sense?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. It does.
Wow.
I like that.
So when people look at you or like are trying to get to know you, they're like have this perception that's sort of bitter, and then when they get to know you, they're like,
That's what I'd say. I feel like at first nobody really likes me, and then later everybody likes me. Like people think I'm kind of condescending or unapproachable, and then they get to know me and they're like, oh, she's actually cool.
all right, let's put a hazelnut in there. Just for
Okay,
like
good. I like that. That sounds good.
All right, cool. That's what it is. And Trish, thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on to the show. Oh wait, the name, as I said it. Have you thought about or gotten any questions about your name or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. So some people will just be like, you know, why didn't you change your name? The answer is pretty simple, which is that it's disrespectful to your parents to change your name. Islamically, the only reason why you'd change your name is if your name already had a bad meaning. So, like when people would convert in the original days of Islam, right? Their names would only be changed if the prophet went up to them and was like, oh, your name means like ugly woman, let's change the name to mean beautiful woman. So if you're a convert,
Why are people naming people?
I know,
things
right?
That name's ugly.
Why would you do something like that? That's so mean. I mean, my cousin's name is Cameron, and that means crooked nose, which is like not cool. It's kind of sad, right? Now people named Cameron, they're named crooked nose. That's kind of
Don't we
annoying.
have that
Named-
Kamran?
If anybody named Cameron is listening,
Yeah, right.
get
At
your
that
nose checked.
point,
No, just kidding.
at that point, your name is Cameron. You change your name maybe, but
Okay.
you know. My name means beautiful, I believe, because my full name is Patricia. So I'm pretty sure it means beautiful or beautiful one, something like that. So it doesn't have a bad meaning. So at that
Nice.
point, it's just like, you know, it's like respectful to your parents who chose that name for you. Like that's the name that fit you. So if I had a name with a bad meaning, I'd more consider changing it. But I think it's also important for people to know that there is no such thing as like a Muslim name.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you're Muslim, that's your Muslim name.
Yeah.
Facts. Get it right. Trish, the Ninja Hijabi, thank you so much for being on the show. Woo! It's been another week, another flavor, a little less stranger. We'll see you next time.
They say the money make the world go round and round. What if the paper wasn't even around? What if the dreams that I sold were real to feel? What if the people that I met